I look at the relation people have to stress. I mean, they're sitting, they're not using their bodies, lots of mental stimulation, not a lot of necessarily like emotional output or room to be an emotional person in their workplace as well. But I've wondered also about vaccines. Do you have a sense of whether vaccines have played a role in the increase of autoimmunes?
Hugely. And I would have to say one of the best resources I've seen in the last several years, and that is the David Suzuki show he did a little while ago, showing how the vaccinations affected the gut flora. And how it was changing people's health. It was really extremely well done. But vaccinations literally take you out of your element, plus the mercury and all the rest of the stuff in them. Yeah. It's obviously putting us out of our element, and it's causing some of those autoimmune diseases. Yeah. But I still think the number one major thing is personal stresses and how a person addresses themselves. In our society, we're taught mentally, but we're only taught a little bit physical education, the one we always either really loved or wanted to get out of, but we're not trained emotionally. So those emotional stresses are still the things that I think are driving the autoimmune things the most. And the unfortunate thing is sometimes the people who get these autoimmune diseases are the brightest people in our society and the genetically strongest. So they have really strong immune systems.
It's almost like they have a lot of maybe Shakti or a lot of force in their being. They are the really vital ones.
The Rambos are coming out and fighting. That's literally
That's it, yeah. So what do you find really is the most practical approach for people who are facing this in their, maybe herbally, but also lifestyle?
Well, if you want to go back to the grassroots, still the number one most important thing is meditation.
Right.
If a person can meditate, they can meditate themselves out of that. Because that's a good base thing, and they can choose their own form of meditation. Again, my base herb would definitely be the mushrooms.
Right.
Because the mushrooms, especially reishi in this case, because reishi literally, well, there's a whole classification of medicine in Chinese medicine to protect an academic from their own brain when they think too much. And reishi is kind of the king of that, or the emperor of that, if you want. And it'll help do that. There's certain flower essences that'll do that. There's many different exercises that do that. Even Tai Chi would do that, of course. Some forms of yoga, but not all forms of yoga would do that. So these different techniques would bring it out. But even those barnyard herbs.
Yeah.
Those barnyard herbs, the dandelion, the burdock, the nettles, and the such, they're really good for working on that. The docks.
The docks, okay. In Buddhism, they talk a lot about aversion being a source of disease. So basically a hate state against whatever it is. And what I'm noticing is people can get to a point where there's so much inner angst over the food that's coming at them that they've painted themselves into a corner where they can't hardly eat anything, and yet they're feeling like crap. Right?
It reminds me, I'm sure you've all heard of a thing called Mother Earth News. But way, way back in some of the original Mother Earth News, there's a cartoon. And there was a picture of this young hippie girl sitting on a park bench, and she had organic alfalfa sprout sandwich and stuff like that. And right beside her was a businessman, and he had a hamburger with golden arches on it. And he had this big beam on his face, and he was so happy eating it. And she was sitting there being pissed off at him actually having the audacity of doing that in public.
Right.
And the caption was, "Who's eating the healthiest food here?"
Yeah.
And it's because he was praising his food, and she had angst around her food that she wasn't getting the nutrient value, or she was eating more than the food. She was eating her own bile.
It's so interesting how in some cultures the ultimate was to be able to eat something not good for you and transform it into it.
Yeah, alchemy.
Right? And so on this level of, let's say, bringing together the masculine and feminine, I see that beautifully represented in the heart chakra. How do you work yourself with the heart chakra with your clients? Have you found there's certain techniques that are?
Well, there definitely are many techniques that can work in this area. And again, I would start working with the mushrooms because the grounding is needed. But even more than using the mushrooms in those things, I find the flower essence are very good. Because an awful lot of people have literally shut down the fourth of the heart chakra because they've been wounded. It could be jilted at a dance all the way to an ugly divorce. And that's where the problem is. In the flower essences, you can be able to open the heart but have it protected. Most people are scared to open up the fourth chakra because they've been wounded. And so the yarrow, especially the pink yarrow here, the pink yarrow is the best one for protecting the heart.
Wow.
So what I use is a combination of barrage, pink yarrow, and Alberta wild rose, with the other two yarrows, white yarrow and yellow yarrow, to create a protection. And then if there's other joys that need to be brought into their life, maybe buttercup or maybe self-heal or something along those lines, but that would help protect. So I'm giving the physical reality of the herbs, but the way, and then the flower essence is the energizer. Because if I have a person comes in has had a heart attack, I can be throwing hawthorn at them and reishi and coenzyme Q10 and all those herbs, but they won't stick.
Right.
If the chakras close down, there's not enough magnetic energy to do that. So I have to open that up. So I need the flower essence to open that level up so they can have a magnetic thing to be able to attract the herbs too. And it's necessary. And that's just as true if it's a cancer of the sexual organs. I need to work on the second chakra and thyroid, whatever. But the center of gravity, well, you got 7, the middle's 4, that would be the heart. It is the place that we have to center in. And we're literally, it's the one for us to grow out of our third ego chakra into our fourth chakra so we can communicate with our head again.